Hey guys, welcome to Blue Pill Podcast. This is Abe, your host. It is April 9th, 2025. So, gonna do a video game review today. As far as the update, really not much going on. Just been working, podcasting, having fun. Today, this one had so much potential, and I ain't gonna lie, dude, this one's probably gonna be one of like my worst reviews of like worst games. Well, hopefully a good review, but of one of the worst games. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring for Game Boy Advance. So, let's get into it. So I want to kind of get into, and it ties in, my love for Lord of the Rings, dude. I am like a huge Lord of the Rings nerd. I ain't gonna lie, within the past couple years, I would say I became like a Harry Potter nerd too. Fantasy has always been, fantasy and adventure have always been like my favorite genre. I'd say fantasy, number one. I grew up reading like Greek mythology, Lord of the Rings. So, I grew up in like a Christian household, and we weren't really like allowed to read Harry Potter. But my mom, I'll never forget this. Lord of the Rings came out, Fellowship of the Rings, and my mom took us to go see it in the movie theater. And it was actually kind of funny. There was like this older couple like that was sitting in front of us, literally making out the entire movie. But I'll never forget, man. I just remember this movie being super long, super fucking epic, super dark. I just remember the darkness of it, you know. How good the effects were of like the goblins and stuff in the Mines of Moria. And I don't know, it was just one of those things, like there was wizards in it, there was magic in it, and she took us to go see it. And I don't know if she knew, if she had read Lord of the Rings in high school, if she knew that there was all this stuff we weren't allowed to watch in it, and she was just being cool as fuck. But I don't know what she said to my dad. I guess she just somehow smoothed it over, because we were allowed to watch them, and my dad, it was one of his favorite series was Lord of the Rings. And I think it might have helped too that Tolkien himself was a Christian. Him and C.S. Lewis were good friends, the guy who made Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which, Speak of the Devil, that's another video game I'm going to review one of these days. And there's a famous story of like C.S. Lewis. It's either C.S. Lewis converting Tolkien or Tolkien converted C.S. Lewis. One of them was like a non-Christian, and the other one converted the other one. I'm not sure which. I think Tolkien was Catholic. C.S. Lewis, I think, was Protestant, but still both Christian, you know. So I think that kind of helped when we told my dad, like, hey, this guy's a Christian, you know. But so I watched the original movie, the Peter Jackson one, and I ended up getting the trilogy in one volume. I remember I had allowance. My dad would give us like $100 a year for doing household chores, and it was like our allowance, like our payment for the whole year of allowance. And I bought the trilogy all in one volume of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. And at a book fair, I got a Frodo bookmark with Elijah Wood on it, and it had this like beautiful like ribbon attached to it with the one ring to rule them all on the end of it, and like it was gold and you could wear it and stuff. It was fucking awesome, dude. And I got really big into reading the books, you know. I started with Fellowship. I got like halfway through Two Towers. I kind of lost interest because I was younger. And they're such long books, and they're so deep with the lore and the world and stuff. Um, and I ended up reading The Hobbit, and later on in life, I ended up collecting his side works, like The Children of Hurin, The Silmarillion, and reading those, Unfinished Tales, the Tolkien Reader, stuff like that. So, Fellowship of the Ring has always been my favorite of the trilogy. Um, if you guys have checked out my previous podcast and game reviews, you guys know that I'm more into the adventure stories. That's like with Dragon Ball. I like Dragon Ball better than I like Dragon Ball Z. Yu Yu Hakusho. We were talking about that the other day. I enjoyed Spirit Detective more than the Dark Tournament saga because I liked the adventure and the storyline more than I liked the actual fighting and stuff. So Fellowship has always been my favorite. So that's why I think I was so disappointed in this game. And I used to see this game growing up, and I wanted it so bad, dude. So here's the thing. I have two of them here, and I'm gonna one day do a review on this one. I'm still in the middle of playing it, Return of the King. These are the only two I have right now for Game Boy Advance. I plan on getting all the Lord of the Rings. So they have a Hobbit game for Game Boy Advance. They have Fellowship, obviously. They have Return of the King, and they have Two Towers, all for Game Boy Advance. EA Games made Two Towers and Return of the King because of the movie. So it's New Line Cinema, Return of the King, and Two Towers is the one is these two. So when I was younger, I didn't realize that a more generic company, this is Black Label Games, the Fellowship, which is the same company who made Dead Man's Chest for Game Boy Advance, which I did a review on that the other day. And they kind of did the same thing. What they did with Dead Man's Chest was Pirates of the Caribbean was really, really big. So they went in there and got the rights to make Curse of the Black Pearl. So they got in there and got the rights to Pirates of the Caribbean like super quick. They did the same thing with Lord of the Rings. They seen, there's Lord of the Rings movies coming out. So like, let's get in there and make a Fellowship of the Ring game, which is smart, but it is like a shittier company. It's like a coming up company, a smaller company. So if you guys remember, I loved Dead Man's Chest, and it really didn't have any issues as far as glitches with Dead Man's Chest. Now we're gonna get into the glitches on this game. So yeah, I've just always loved Fellowship of the Ring. I ended up getting a cartoon growing up, a VHS of, his name's Bakshi. He's a artist and director. He makes animated films. He made a Lord of the Rings, and it's basically Fellowship of the Ring. It kind of gets in, I believe, a little bit of Two Towers. I think what they were trying to do was make at least the first two books, and fit it into an animated film. It ends abruptly because it's a long ass cartoon and it ends abruptly. They never really finish. I don't know if they ran out of time or money or something, or it was just too big of a project to fit all three books in one animated film. Or they're just like, dude, there's no way kids are gonna watch like a 4-hour, cartoon. I enjoyed it though. I remember, this is how crazy I was and how in love with Lord of the Rings I was when I was a kid. When I got that VHS, I watched it, I kid you not, over and over and over. I watched it probably like, because I got the movie like pretty early on in the day, and when I got home I literally rewatched it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And then like the next day did the exact same thing. I kept watching it, dude. I was addicted to this fucking movie. It was insane. My brother's like, dude, are you seriously watching it again? You've watched it like 5 times today. I'm like, dude, I don't know. It was like crack. So I love Lord of the Rings, man. And Fellowship's my favorite. So as a kid, I used to see this and want this game so bad. That's why it kind of hurts me that it sucked. So it is an RPG. The EA Games ones, the Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King. Those are both hack and slash. They're kind of like, I've heard them called Diablo clones. I've never played Diablo, so I'm not sure how that is. I would say these are kind of like hack and slash dungeon crawlers. And RPG elements, like you get stats that you can level up. Each item, some items are stronger than others. Some of them have really good stats, but they also have like stats that actually take certain attributes down. When you level up, you can choose like to boost up your strength, your health, your defense, your accuracy, your courage, your stamina, stuff like that. So, yeah. So this is an RPG game, but it's turn-based. One complaint that I heard a lot of people had was that the turn base is super slow. It is slow, but it's not unbearably slow. I never found myself getting frustrated with the speed of the turn-based combat in this game. Maybe for one, because I'm a smoker, and that is one thing I do like about turn-based games is like I could sit here and sip on my coffee, like do my turn of attacks, and be like, okay, take a couple drags from a cigarette, I don't have to be like on top of it, and I do actually kind of like that. It doesn't bother me if a game is slower turn-based because I can sit there and enjoy a cigarette while playing. But like for an instance, like your guy will attack and you'll be fighting a wolf and the wolf will literally be like run all the way to your hobbit, attack, and then run all the way back. So if you don't have patience, then it might be a little bit of a struggle for you. The battles though can be avoidable. It's not random. You can actually see the enemy and dodge most of them if you want. And you don't really... I can't remember. Like, I actually did every battle that I seen and came across because there's really not a whole bunch of battles in the game. Like, there's a decent amount to obviously keep the excitement going and the action going, but it's not overwhelming. It's not like there's a battle every 2 seconds, Like with Harry Potter Game Boy Color, I felt like that one, there's a lot of battles in that one. You can dodge most of them, but it's harder to dodge. There's more monster encounters. This one, it's not overwhelming amount of enemies, and all the battles were pretty simple. But yeah, it's a RPG. You collect, weapons. You collect shields, boots, armor. You collect gold. You collect items. There is shops here and there. That is one thing that I liked. It's very open world. It does feel kind of linear every now and then. As far as like, there is some moments where it's linear, like there's paths and stuff, but a lot of the levels was very open world feeling. Like there's one point where you go to Bree, and that was pretty cool. It's kind of like you get to explore the cities and go in different shops, and the Shire is pretty big, and you get to explore the Shire. So I did like that compared to Return of the King, because Return of the King is very linear. Like, there's levels, and you can't really explore too much outside of those paths, you know. This one I felt like you can go all over the place. There's a lot of fetch quest of collecting items and take it to this guy, and this guy will give you this, or this guy will give you this, or it will level you up. And you can actually level up by doing these side quests. So if you die in battle, you might want to do these side quests as you go, because it'll level your characters up. And when you do it, here's a tip from me. When you do it, do these little side quests and always play as your weakest character, because he will get the level. At least I believe so. But yeah, like with Dead Man's Chest, or not Dead Man's Chest, Curse of the Black Pearl, check out that episode, that review, you'll know. It's the same company that made both of these games. Like, you could go through towns and stuff, and you could talk to random people, like, every now and then, but this one felt definitely like you could talk to more people, you could go in more buildings. I don't think you could go in any of the buildings, really, and Curse of the Black Pearl, it was just there to look at, you know. This one, I felt like every other building you could pretty much go in. You could explore. The maps are huge on this game. So, give me just a second. Alright, so, since we're talking about the battle, I'm going to try to keep it somewhat organized, this podcast. One thing that I thought was pretty neat was, so, your party is huge in this game. You have the full fellowship after Rivendell. Before, it's kind of like a classic. Before Rivendell, it's kind of like a classic RPG. Like, you have Merry, Pippin, Sam, and Frodo, and you're all basically kind of like a classic RPG. There's not really much of a class system. Pretty much everyone, except for Legolas, is an archer. Gandalf's a wizard, and then Boromir and Aragorn, Strider, would be like your knights, warriors, and then Frodo and the hobbits. They're honestly just like, you know, basically like warriors, but they can only use like daggers and stuff. So I guess more like thieves, but without the stealing. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's like classes, you know. Pretty much healing and stuff though, like, is like through herbs and stuff, mushrooms, food. That's how you heal yourself, like bread, you know, coffee, beer, stuff like that. Which you'll collect throughout the game. So this was, I think it was actually before the movie came out. So, and it's not tied to the movie. It's based off the book, which I like. I prefer. It's kind of the same thing that they did with the Harry Potter that we reviewed the other day. The movie was coming out, and they're like, hey, let's make a game off the book. But this is perfect timing because the movie's coming out, or the movie's being made, and kids are excited about the movie, so they're going to buy this too, you know, which it's smart marketing. So it's based off the book. So there is the section with Tom Bombadil and the willow in the woods. So you go through that whole part of the story, the Tom Bombadil storyline, of basically two of the hobbits, I think it's Merry and Pippin, get kidnapped, like held hostage by this willow, and you have to go on like fetch quest and meet Tom Bombadil and find him items which aren't in the book, but there is some stuff that's not in the book, like the fetch quest, the side quest stuff is not in the book. But for the most part, it's by the book, not the movie, which is cool. I'm always the type, you know, I like the book more than I like the movie. I'm a bookworm. I'm a nerd when it comes to reading. So, like, you guys know, this channel started out as a book review channel. And I just like the books better than I do the movie. Movie is nice because it's like, oh, you can sit down and get the whole story in 2 hours, but I kind of like that it takes days to read a book because I get to enjoy that story deeper and enjoy it longer. Because I'm the type, I've been saying it throughout all these like reviews of these games, that there's like a bittersweet sadness whenever you finish one of these games, because they're awesome games. You're in the story, you're enjoying it, and then it's like, oh, it's over. You know, I get the same way with reading books. Sometimes I get the same way with watching movies. You know, but mostly with books and games, I feel like there's like a sadness afterwards. Like, man, it's over. You know. So yeah, but yeah, it's insane. Like when you actually get in battles after Rivendell, because like you have the full party. Like you've got Gimli, Legolas, Gandalf, the four hobbits, Aragorn, and Boromir. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9. You got a party of 9, so it's insane. You'll have like 9 people versus, like, they'll have 6 or 7, sometimes 8 people on their side. So it's interesting. I've never really seen a turn base with so many people on your side and their side. So that's a first for a video game. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I've never really seen that in a turn base. Usually it's like 3 or 4 versus 3 or 4, you know. Not 9 versus 8, you know. It's kind of wild. So let's talk about why this game was so disappointing. And honestly, it affects the replay value. So, if you are playing this game, and there are some of those purists, like my oldest brother, I love him to death, but he used to make fun of me when I would play Final Fantasy games, because he'd see me using walkthroughs, like books or the internet, if I was stuck, and he'd say, that's cheating. He's kind of a purist. Like, if you can't figure it out within the game, it's considered cheating if you look it up, how to do something. And I've always disagreed with that. To me, cheating would be like using passwords to skip levels, or using a Game Shark, or cheats, like literal cheats or codes, you know. To me, that's cheating. A Game Shark, a Game Genie, you know. Looking it up or buying a walkthrough is not cheating to me, because I look at it like this, like kind of like life. Now, if I could, if like life was a simulation and I could just like wake up and just go left, right, A, B, A, B, 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 A, you know, and just automatically, like, there's a Ferrari in my driveway, like GTA, you know, or my bank account just suddenly goes up to $1 million, you know, that would be cheating to me in life. But like in life, like, not to get all philosophical and deep, which I don't mind. I am a Sagittarius. The most philosophical of all the signs, Jim Morrison used to say. Yeah, speak of the devil, Val Kilmer died. He played Jim Morrison in The Doors. Sorry, little side rant. Ain't that sad, though? I think pneumonia. He was having troubles with, like, throat cancer, tracheotomy, and, yeah, I know he smoked cigarettes. But, anyways, what was I saying? Oh, cheating. So in life, like, anytime I've went through struggles, I've always either talked to someone who went through the same shit that I'm like currently going through at that time, and getting advice on what should I do, and that's to me the equivalent of like a walkthrough of like, hey, I'm stuck in this game. What do I do? Same thing with life. Hey, I'm stuck in life with this current situation. So you go to someone who's been through it before and you go, what do I do? You know, same concept. So if you play this game, dude, you are going to need a walkthrough. I would go online. I wouldn't even get the book if this company even came out with a walkthrough book. I wouldn't even get that. I would literally go online, and there's multiple people who have beaten this game, so it is possible to beat, and they tell you where the glitches are. I had to do it because Because at first I was like, I didn't know that this game was so glitchy, dude. There's like 3 different sections that glitch out. So, here, let me go through real quick. So, I'm going to tell you just as far as I got. There could be even more glitches after, because I got stuck because of a glitch. So, the first glitch that I experienced, and I almost got stuck, was I was in... I can't remember the actual... I know I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd, but I can't remember the location of it. So, in the book and the movie, this is right after Bree. You leave Bree and you're on your adventure with Strider. And you guys go up to like this hilltop, and it's like ruins of like some past civilization. And you camp for the night. And then in the middle of the night, you're surrounded by all these ring wraiths, and they stab Frodo, and the blade breaks off inside of him. And he's like sick and cursed. So, on that level, after that scene, you are supposed to play as Aragorn, and you're looking for some form of herb. So I actually got the herb and stuff. I already had the herb. Anyways, so I heal Frodo, and I'm going to get off this hill and leave. And instead of like walking around and going down the hill, down a path, I literally walk, and I didn't even mean to do it. And I start walking through like ridges on the hill. And I just walk off screen, and my character disappears, and I'm like, the camera's moving, but there's no one there. I'm literally outside of the game, outside of the frame. And I freaked out. I was like, what the fuck? So what I did was, stupidly, I saved, and I restarted, and I had to do this like 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, fuck, I think I just screwed my game up. I think I'm going to have to start from the beginning again. So I was bummed out. And I tried it like by the 3rd time I got it, I finally wiggled my character back onto the screen and back to where I was. And then I saved again. I was like, okay, don't do that. You know, and it refixed itself. So that one was fixable. I was like, okay, maybe the game just had like a glitch. I was being hopeful. It's like the game just it's got a glitch, you know, no big deal. So I'm going through the walkthrough because it's like some puzzle or some part of the game I'm struggling with, and it's like I'm just kind of reading ahead, like, oh, I'm about to go to Rivendell. And dude, it literally says like, be super careful in Rivendell. First of all, you can't even save in Rivendell. You can if you want, if you're willing to risk losing your file, but there are so many glitches in Rivendell. Like, I did see one of them of characters disappearing, and you're like talking to no one, like Ghost, which was interesting. I guess Frodo or Bilbo wore his ring, you know. Nerd joke. But anyways, so I didn't save it all in Rivendell. I just went through. I got through as fast as I could because I didn't want it glitching out. Because if it glitched out, then you have to restart. So you have to save right before Rivendell, and then you'd have to restart and do it all over again. And there's a shit ton of fetch questing in Rivendell. It's just, it sucks that you have to play a game like this. So this is what turned me off, and this is why this is gonna get like a bad review. Now I'm almost gonna do like 2 reviews, like 2 scores at the end. This is the worst fucking glitch ever, and apparently it's like infamous in the gaming world of people who have played this game. Everyone knows about this glitch. I didn't know about this glitch, which kind of sucks because a lot of game stores are still charging quite a bit for this game. Because it's apparently rare, as far as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that not as many were made because it wasn't EA Games. It was a smaller company, so obviously there's not going to be as many of them. 2, it is an RPG. RPGs usually go for higher. Except for Harry Potter the other day, dude. That was only like $6. I was surprised how cheap it was. But, in the Mines of Moria, first of all, the Mines of Moria, if you watch a long play and someone has it sectioned out, the Mines of Moria is like 1/3 of this game. It is huge and frustrating. You're going to need a walkthrough because there are so many puzzles in it. A lot of it is just running all over and over and over the same places you've been 1,000 times. Like, even with a walkthrough, the Mines of Moria is fucking hell. I wasted like hours in the Mines of Moria. So there's one part where there's a little cutscene and you have to go through a door. And when you get on the other side of the door, the game freezes. And it's so bad that the company even put out a statement afterwards because people were like, dude, this game's broke. So the company had to come out and give a statement of like, hey, here's how it's possible to get past it. Here's how you do it. This is what is so frustrating. And it's like, I couldn't pull it off. I literally tried to do it, like, I'm not even joking, like 15 fucking times. You have to save after the cutscene, and right before you go into the door, when it fades to black, you have to push start and save as it's fading to black, and it will save you on the other side of the door, and it won't be froze when you turn off the game and load it back up. It is hard. It is literally like, you're just like, hurry, click, 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 click. Didn't do it. And you have to do this over and over and over and over. It is the most stressful thing I've ever had to deal with, like, as far as a game. And it's not even, it shouldn't even, you should just be allowed to walk through it. And it's because the game is broken that you have to do this, just for the game to work properly. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the review. With all the glitches, dude, I give this game literally a 5 out of 10 with all the glitches. Because, like, I wish that somebody would make a ROM and fix all the glitches. And that way I could actually experience the game how it's supposed to be. But, like, if the glitches weren't there, I would give this game like a 9 out of 10. Because it's a beautiful game. The music is awesome. That's another glitch. Or it's got to be a glitch. Or it's just they made the game shitty or running out of time, because the music will play and then it stops and it'll just go silent for like 5 minutes. And then the music will play again. And then it stops and then it'll go silent. Like, it goes through its loop. And then there's just moments of silence for like multiple minutes. So the music was weird, but when it does play, it's good music. Without all the glitches, I would give it a 9 out of 10. But with the glitches, I have to give this game like a 5 out of 10, dude. It just fucking blows, man. And it's frustrating and it's sad because it's my favorite story of the trilogy. It's the only one that's RPG. It's kind of neat to play an RPG, Lord of the Rings, rather than a hack and slash. Yeah, it is frustrating, dude. It's like one of my biggest disappointments as far as video games, and like I said, as a kid, I wanted this game so bad. I finally got it, and I can't even beat it. And the replay value, that could, I don't know, it depends on what type of person you are. Like, it could make the replay value higher for you because you want to beat it knowing the struggles with all the glitches. For me, it actually makes it lower, though, because I've got all the way to Mines of Moria and I can't get past this stupid door. And the reason why, I'll tell you, is because you're trying to save as it fades to black. I accidentally saved just 1 little millisecond too early. So every time I load, it loads into a freeze. It automatically, this point where I saved, literally, it's like just when the fade started and not late enough when the fade ends. So as soon as you load it, it starts fading. You don't even have to move, and it freezes on the other side. So it's so fucking dumb and frustrating. 5 out of 10. There you go, guys. I hope you all have a good day. Let me know if you played this game and dealt with the hell of the Fellowship of the Rings. It'll be a little therapy session in the comment sections. Y'all have a good day. I have a little extra time today. I woke up early, so I might do another podcast later today. Maybe a conspiracy one, maybe another game review. We'll see how I feel and what I'm in the mood for. Y'all have a good day.